Good morning. This is John Harder with episode 105 of the live broadcast Spreading the Wealth of TBC and Free Energy. Now, my title today, let me just actually read it here. Our current money versus TBC. All right, so that is kind of our challenge today, is to explain the difference between what the monetary system that we are currently using versus what TBC is bringing to the table for us. All right. So there are many questions, I am sure, that people who have not studied money, who have not an understanding about banking or the world affairs, how government ties into the monetary system, how, all of this stuff, how this all works. Now, for those of you who have no understanding about money, I'm going to make a statement here that will probably kind of shock you. And I'm going to say this. For those of you who are in Canada, and you see the Canadian money, or so-called, with Canada on there, the word Canada on there, the Queen on there, and all of that. Well, let me tell you, there's nothing Canadian about the money we use here in Canada. There's nothing Canadian about it. It's owned by a private entity, which have been putting their monetary system in place here to choke the Canadian people of their wealth and of their life force. So if you live in New Zealand, and whatever your money looks like in New Zealand, whatever criminals are printed on your money there, it's the same thing. There is nothing New Zealand about your money. Mexican money, there's nothing Mexican about it. These are all owned, and this is just about worldwide, practically every country in the world. The monetary system, that is so-called monetary system that they use, has actually nothing to do with that country. And you say, well, why does every country then have their own money? Oh, hey, let's answer that question right away too. Because there is a hell of a lot of money to be made by exchanging from one country's money to another. Who makes all this money? Yeah, the central banks do. The banks that own all the systems. And the government, as far as your government, how is your government tied into it? Your government is just a puppet. It's nothing but a puppet to the system. That's all it is. Now, it is worth noting that there are finally some countries who have actually booted out the Rothschilds, because those are actually the owners of the Bank of International Trade. That banking system is owned by the Rothschild. Where do the Rothschilds stem from? Well, they are an ancient Jewish bloodline of people who have back actually from ancient Egypt, and who knows, maybe even it's for thousands of years that they have been that they have been manipulating and gaining slowly, bit by bit, gaining more control of mankind. And here is how they have been using, how they have been gaining their control, is by using time for them and using time against people. How do we mean that? Well, it is always about manipulating people to want something right away, and then lend them the money to do it. Then lend them the money to get into debt. And then once in debt, now you've got a debt to pay plus your normal load of livelihood to carry. This is the system that we have been serving. That is our old monetary system. That is the system that has enslaved humanity. And maybe this is new to you. Maybe you already understand it. I'm not sure where you are on this, but that is why TBC has come along to help us, first of all, not only understand what kind of a world we live in, but also bring about the means to change it. All right. So TBC is not a monetary system that is owned by people who have been manipulating the world for thousands of years, but instead it's a monetary system that is made by the people for the people. Well, I'm saying by the people. It's there are, I don't know personally, the group of people that have created it, but it is a system that finally gives us back the buying power so that we can be freed from the debt-based system that we are now enslaved to. Let us look at a couple of instances as far as the monetary system that we live in right now. When a person buys a house, you have to go to the bank and take out a mortgage. Well, what is a mortgage? Let's pick that word apart a little bit, because in order for us to understand what is going on, or what is what, we need to understand words. And the English language is the easiest language to use to put plays on words, if that makes any sense to you. The English language is the easiest language to use to put plays on words. What do I mean by a play on words? That just simply means that there is this fancy word that is a common word being used that nobody actually knows what it means. Nobody actually knows the real meaning of that word. So let's pick it apart. What is mortgage? Mortgage is it's a word that's made up of two words, actually, and the French word mort is death. It's death. Engage is a contract. So there you have it. It's a death contract. Now, why would we throw that word around so easily and go to the bank to see if we qualify to apply for a death contract. Do you want a death contract? Seriously, is that what we want? Well, we go to the bank to see if we qualify for it. You see, that's the system that we've been enslaved to. That's the system we've been enslaved to a life of debt, a life of bondage, a life of a monetary system where enslaved to a monetary system where life is a complete struggle from beginning to end. When children, and you see the school systems are provided by the same people, since they are the collectors of all the taxes, of all the contracts that we make. What contracts do we make? Well, we go and we get a driver's license. That's a contract. It's a contract that's being traded in the marketplace and on Wall Street. When a person is born, the certificate of that birth certificate is being traded on Wall Street in the marketplace. When you get a parking ticket, that is a contract that is being traded on Wall Street. When you pay your insurance, it is a contract that is being traded on Wall Street. Every interaction that you have with the current monetary system, or should we say legal system, it is tied in that the legal system, anything you have to do in the legal system, whether you get a permit to put new windows on your house, whether you get a building permit to build a garage, it doesn't matter what it is. Any transaction that you make with the government, if you get a speeding ticket beside the road, a cop pulls you over and you get a speeding ticket, that is a contract that is used in the trading place on Wall Street to make money on. Wow. Wow. That's the kind of world we live in. And we think that that is okay. Now, that is why it is necessary that we start using the monetary system called TBC and use it between ourselves as much as possible for trading peer-to-peer. Now, I know that there are some platforms that have been created to just make trades, and I've been trying to get my mind around that, because in my mind, when we trade, it needs to be for goods and services. Otherwise, it's too much like getting together on Christmas and everybody is going to give each other a present of $20 cash to each other at the Christmas party. In which case, why don't we just keep our $20 and it's all the same? For that reason, we need to involve goods and services when we do trades. Now, And so I've been approached by some TBCians to get involved in these trading platforms. And I've been looking at it, and and it doesn't mean I'm not going to get involved, but at this point, my mind is not open to it, because I don't see a human to human value of trading in it. Because yes, we are trying to get more people involved with TBC, but what goods or services are we providing in that trade? That's that's where I need to see through that. I need to see value. I see tremendous value in using TBC, but trade it for goods or services, kind of thing, as much as possible. And which eventually, if we do this as much as we can, eventually we will be using just that, because it'll increase the more we do, the more we use it. Now, it could easily be that these trading programs that have been created, that they could easily be a huge value to this. And you know what? I would be happy to take an hour of discussion with the TBC people who have created these programs, and maybe through that discussion, I might understand it better, as having this, as having a high value. Now, to me, TBC has a tremendous value, because it can change the world in a business that we do. But how do we add value to our trades? That's my question. How do we add value to our trades? When when approaching people here in Canada, with that idea of bringing new people in, and then you get to the next level, as you just kind of thing. It's very hard to convince them that that is not a pyramid, and they look at pyramid as ugly as sin. Now, having said that, the very structure, the very school system, the very thing where they have been taught how bad pyramid is pyramid. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? If I would be, I'd have this big pyramid structure that is totally built on pyramid, and all the new people coming into this pyramid structure that I am sitting at the top of, and I tell all of the new people coming in, pyramid is a very bad thing. Don't you get involved in pyramid. In the meantime, that's all it is. Meantime, that's all it is. Just a pyramid. Because that's exactly what the school structure is. That's what the government structure is. That's what the banking structure is. Everything, the entire world that we live in, the economic world, is built on pyramid. And then in school, the kids are being taught how bad pyramid is. So, I'm a person, I'm very much a believer in having an open mind to new things, new concepts, and so on. But I also believe in understanding. I am a very firm believer in understanding what it is I'm getting into, understanding understanding life, basically, really. Like, I mean, as I have been saying in previous broadcasts of mine, that for many years I did not study I never studied. I considered studying as rubbish. Anybody would have asked me to study, I'd say, "Are you crazy? Why would I study about anything?" Uh, and I think that probably was part of because I had this concept that the world we live in is somehow messed up. It's somehow messed up, and I couldn't really, understand it. But I knew that something is desperately wrong, and it was through studying that I finally found out. So how did I get onto studying? Well, it was because of I had pretty some illnesses that like physical health that problems that to me were pretty serious, and I went to the doctor, and the doctor, all he did is he said, "Well, let's try this," and it was a drug, of course. I tried it, and it was my reaction to the drug was a lot worse than what the original problem was. So I went back to the doctor, and he gave me a different drug, and I come home with that, and my wife said to me, she says, "John, if that other drug did that to you, then why would you just be willing to try a different drug?" And I thought about it, and you're right. You're right. The doctors obviously have no idea what they're doing. This left me scared. What am I going to do? How am I going to deal with this? Then all of a sudden the light came on. Why don't I go and find out what causes these kind of symptoms? And it was about 3 or 4 different types of symptoms I was experiencing. And my findings were that they were all related to mental stress. Mental stress was actually the cause of all of them. And I came to realize in my studying, which actually at that point, studying began. I haven't stopped since. When I realized that mental stress was the problem, I had to find out what mental stress is. And as I realized and I found out what that was, that is when the symptoms began to disappear, because I realized that if I'm the cause of the problem, then I can also heal. If I have made myself sick, then I can heal myself. And this is the realization we need to come to. And to me, it was a tremendous eye-opener when I understood that everything that comes into my life is because of my own thinking. And when you realize that, that's when you can open up and say, wow, then I can change. Then I can change my life. And that is exactly what has happened. And however, as much as I learned about the mind and learned about all of those kind of things, I had to come across TBC to find out about the financial system. I didn't know about that until I was in TBC. I did learn a little bit about it, I guess, because when I first came across Bitcoin, I did learn a little bit about, I got a bit of an idea about central banks because of the video, the original Bitcoin video, which is still very available online on YouTube. Simply the video, "What is Bitcoin?" You probably watched it too. It was talking about how the Bitcoin was made, that there is no central bank, to manipulate it, or however they word it, and that it does not need to go through a clearinghouse. And that is when I started to catch on to that a little bit, that so that people are trying to bypass banks. And at first it didn't make much sense to me. Why would you do that? But once I came into TBC and read through the blog and got the information, that is when I really began to open up to, to understand the banking system. And I have dug way deeper than just what's on the blog. I have gained way more understanding about the banking system than the information posted on the blog. Now, if we understand what's on the blog, I think that really is sufficient for us to understand that we need something different, that we need TBC. But really understanding it in depth, what actually goes on, how this is all handled, how does it all tie together? That understanding is something different. That is when we realize it is high time that we give our descendants a better world than what was handed to us. That doesn't mean I hold anything against my parents or grandparents or any of them. Doesn't mean that. They didn't know it. They didn't research it. They didn't understand it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But we are understanding it. We are learning it. And we are understanding it. We owe it to our future generations to give them a better life than what was handed to us. We are in the best time that we could ever be. Well, aside from having it all changed. But the fact that we're waking up, the fact that we're learning and understanding the world we live in and have the tools now to change it is tremendous. It is tremendous. It is a power that is just, words fail me to explain the joy, the gratitude that it gives to me, just to know that we can change and create a world for our descendants that is going to be abundance-based, that is filled with peace and prosperity, where people have time to spend, to visit, to play, and not have all their time taken up just to barely pay the mortgage, pay the bills, and pay for this, pay for that. Instead, we are bringing a world that is going to give us free transportation. Imagine free transportation. You don't have to go to a gas station to fill up your car. In the house, your home, you can heat it for free. It doesn't matter where you live, you can heat it for free. Aside from, of course, you will need to buy the generator to be able to do this. But you buy the generator, and then you can, the heating of your house is for free. Using your stove, all your appliances. Once again, we are entering a world where a person who is a carpenter can spend his time to focus on quality and make quality furniture that people come and they are amazed at the quality, the strength of it, the beauty of it. and they are willing to pay a lot of money for it because they don't have to pay their heating bill. They don't have to pay fuel when they want to drive. This kind of quality is going to once again be returning to this to humanity and to local communities. And I want to spend a couple of minutes just talking about that. What do we got here? 30 minutes already. Because in accomplishing TBC, to truly bring TBC in as a monetary system, we have to use the we have to build local communities in order to do this. We know that we can't go to the bank and say, look, can we somehow tie TBC in? You've got to remember, that is kind of like a cat and a mouse. The mouse just doesn't go to the cat and say, hey, you know what? I think we should be friends. And the cat doesn't have very much interest in being friends with the mouse. But if we build local communities and start on local areas, start accepting Bitcoin, or should I say TBC, as much as we can between each other, just for small things that we do for each other, and accept TBC for it, and get that word out. Let local people find out and keep it between us. Of course, in order to do that, people need to know, what are we beating? If we don't know, we're in jail. We're not going to look for a way out. It's easy to understand that a baby that is born in jail and doesn't know any other world, has never been told about the world outside, is never going to look to break out of jail. We need to understand the jail we live in order for us to, find the way to break out. And by the way, there is no jail that you can't break out of. There's no jail that you can't break out of, because you have a marvelous mind. Your mind is filled with the power of God. Your mind is filled with the power of God. Thinking, just thinking, real thinking. By doing that, you are using the power of God. There is only one mind in the world, on the entire system, the entire planet, the entire universe. There is only one mind, and we each have our own identity in that mind. Every cell in our body has our DNA in it. Your mind, every thought, and the entire universe has its own DNA in it, but it's out there for people to tune into. We are marvelous creatures. We are marvelous creations. And with that power that we have in our mind, we can change the world. We can change the world. And we are changing the world. We are changing the world. The more we spread out this thinking and this mindset of abundance, and of how should I say, uh, infinite power, the more we will change the world, because it's through our mind is where the power is. Okay, so for those of you who are watching this this hangout and want to know more about how the world works, about the prison you're in, and changing it, there are links in the description. I invite you to tune into those and go through the links. I have plenty of information, other links that link to information that I'm talking about. And also, if you're not in TBC, then why are you here? Why are you watching this video? Maybe it's because you want to get involved in what we're doing. Maybe you want to find out what kind of a world you are living in, and you want to also find out of what kind of a world we are building for ourselves and future generations. And maybe you want to be part of that, because it's absolutely wonderful. It is in imagination, in our imagination, we can imagine that kind of a world. The more we use our imagination to imagine that world, the more we're going to be building it, because it's the power of the mind that is where the work is. The steps that we take will follow our thinking. Okay, so that is how we do it, by thinking. As we think, so we follow with our steps. Okay. All right, thank you so much for those of you who are watching. I've been just talking here, and I noticed a lot of quite a bit of commotion here in the chat. I appreciate that, guys. I really appreciate that. Krona, thank you for joining. Huh? Chona, sorry, Chona. Thank you very much for joining my broadcast. And the next one is I don't know how I yeah, Ms. Nuram, you're the guy from Germany. I almost every day I go on your live chat a little bit to give you a thumbs up and stuff, but I don't really understand I think it's is it Telugu that you speak? I'm not sure, but anyways, I appreciate your hangouts too. From what I have been understanding of it. And then we got Serene's. Thank you for joining me again. I truly appreciate it. And then we got Lucy Brown. Thank you as well. I appreciate that you're here. Thank you, Marjorie, also for moderating again. And we got let's run. Where? Oh yeah, okay. Little Mahalko 88. Thank you very much also for being here. I truly appreciate you. And Diana Gordon, thank you. Thank you very much for hanging out with me here. I appreciate it. And we have Hanny. Where's he? Okay. Okay, Hanny, thank you very much as well for hanging out with me. Crypto Review Pedro, thank you. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks very much, guys. I truly appreciate it, and I trust that I have given you inspiration. All right. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I think I posted that, didn't I? Yeah. Okay. All right, folks, that is about it for today. So if you haven't migrated yet, I'm going to just quickly throw that in. If you haven't migrated yet to your new wallet, it is high time to take those steps, okay? All right, with that said, I'm going to sign off.